Happy Monday, Fit Family. It's been a while and I posted my last video a couple of weeks ago about donuts. And now what I'm showing you is I went to Guyana in the summer in August and it had some stuff going on with life and I finally put all the videos together. So what is going to be just me talking over Guyana. If you ever heard about it, it's in South America. It's where my mother was born and I went there with her. So I just want to show you some things. So thank you so much for joining me on this video. Again, you're going to see quick videos of Guyana and some beautiful waterfowl, which I won't tell you until we get there. All right, if you like it, please like and subscribe, and here we go. So the first thing you see is this small little frog that snuck into our hotel. I knew there were frogs in Guyana because my mom told me, but I was very surprised to see it. So I decided to record it, and here it is, climbing our bathroom. The scary part is that we didn't see it after that. And this was our morning view every morning when we went for breakfast. It was really nice. It was August, so it was hot. What I want to show you is pretty much Guyana from a taxi. And so I had some views. And the thing with Guyana is that it is still a country new to me. And there are a lot of developing parts of it. And I was just so surprised about how much green there was. As we drove by, there's a lot of green areas. There were some malls that were more developed, but my mom had told me that this was more recent. She hasn't been there in over 40 years. So for me, this was just a new experience. So when I was driving around in a taxi, I was just happy to see a lot of Guyana. And this was pretty much it. There's a lot of open land. There were local fruit carts. There were also just people doing their everyday things. There were a couple times when I saw like a horse, which you'll see coming up soon. But the only thing that I also noticed was that because Guyana is in South America where there's a lot more moisture, there's random puddles, and that really took me for an interesting twist. I wasn't sure that there was so much flooding, and this is good for the country, obviously, because most of what Guyana does, they grow sugarcane, they grow a lot of produce, but for me to just see like sitting water everywhere, like on every street, was something that I was really new to. So I decided just to record it. As we're seeing, of course, they had local supermarkets, but the most important thing about Guyana is that most people buy a lot of their produce and food on the streets, and there are markets everywhere. There are some popular ones that I didn't go in just because it was a little unsafe. You know, I'm not from Guyana and my mom and I don't look like it, so we wanted to be a little bit on the safer side. But just driving around this area, you could see there are just stands outside. People are busy hustling every single day, which, again, it's something that you have to admire because you have to see that this is how people like to live. Here, my mom is pointing to this government building, and it was beautiful on the outside. And that was another culture shock for me, was that you saw areas like this where it was developing. There were some apartment buildings. There were some nice buildings, but then there were other areas that were kind of still developing. And I guess this is an ongoing thing in Guyana. Once I talked to some locals, is that people are very aware of smaller changes. Again, if you look closely, you can see that it kind of rained. And even over here where the supermarket is, there is lots of water, like really just sitting water all the time, which mosquitoes hang around, so we wore a lot of bug spray just to make sure. And right here is my mom's church. She used to go here when she was a kid, and she is telling me about this area where they used to walk to. And everywhere you go, again, you see rows of water and local places, so I was very much taken aback. What you're coming up on next is my mom's actual neighborhood where she grew up. And right here where it says the Coca-Cola is her shop. And that was super fun for me to see. We got hit with some rain, which is typical in Guyana in August. But just to see where she came from and to see that the store was still there and the owners knew, of my mom's family but weren't really close was so cool, because Guyana is a huge country, but it's kind of like New York. You kind of see your normal people around. Right now, this is just a view from the car. It just rained, and we were just driving along the ocean. And this is the next day where it's really sunny, and I was just taken back by all the different types of cars. A lot of these cars looked a lot older, obviously, than ones I've seen in New York. But it was just a fun thing to see, which was just everyday life of driving around and seeing so much of this country, which, again, I've never seen before. And I wanted to experience with my mom when I went with her. This was the highlight of the trip, is that we were able to get tickets to go see Kaieteur Falls, which is the longest drop in South America, and it happens to be in Guyana. So I'm just showing you the view from the small plane. It fit about 12 of us, and it was taking off. And where we were in Georgetown, it was about an hour flight. So I sped up some of this time, but as you could see, Guyana is super green. You see all these beautiful houses, colorful houses as well, as we're flying over. And that's what I want to show you guys, that most of Guyana is untouched. A lot of this is agriculture. They're just keeping trees, and they want to keep the environment as safe as possible. But there are major cities, and as you can see, we got stuck in a couple of clouds, which was fun for me. I'm a little scared of heights, but again, just a distraction of the beautiful landscape. Really, it made my trip, because this was one of my highlights, is that I'm going to be in Guyana. I wanted to see this waterfall. I think in a few minutes, when you see the actual views, you'll see how beautiful it is. And this was something that if you're ever going to go, I definitely recommend you spend the time. Unfortunately, we didn't know if we were going to go until the day before, because all the traveling agencies in Guyana want to guarantee that they'll have a full plane. So the minimum of people that can go are 12. And luckily, my mom's cousin was able to find some people, and we were able to go as a big group. And it was fun because we were all very excited. All these green mountains I was looking over, and I was just so surprised to see how untouched this beautiful country is. Luckily, I like to hike, but I know that a lot of part of this Guyana is wildlife, so I will respect the wildlife and leave them for they are. So I won't be going there and hiking only during the certain areas where the locals know. They actually said there is a 3 to 4 day trip to Guyana hiking from the Kaieteur Falls. And here it is. I just want you to see a little glimpse of it. We're coming around it. And it was something that I was so excited to see. Again, we're looking from afar, and it's not until you get up really close that you understand the beauty of this waterfall. I did record close-ups. This was our hike after we landed. It took us about 20 minutes to get there, and this was like our tour guide said this was all underneath the seawater, which was amazing to think. So here you go. Enjoy the sounds of the Kaieteur Falls. I hope you enjoy the sounds and the views of this Kaieteur Falls as much as I did. I wanted to make sure you saw it, and it was definitely worth it. Now, this is just our flight, obviously, going back to Georgetown, and of course, I took some more video. It was about a couple of hours later. We were able to eat after we did the hike to the Kaieteur Falls, and then our pilot was ready to go. And again, how often are you in the sky with all these beautiful clouds? So I decided to record it as I was sitting next to my mom and realized, wow, this is an amazing place. And I was very blessed to be able to go on this tour and look around. And again, this country is massive, and there's so many things that you can see, but it's also very laid back, and everybody's doing their own thing. So you kind of have to just take it for what it is. And again, enjoying this flight was one of the highlights of me seeing where this country is. And my mom had been to Kaieteur Falls when she was younger, so luckily I was able to go with her this time. This is just our next day. We're just driving around. Again, Georgetown is huge, so everywhere we wanted to go was about an hour away in a cab. So we decided to go in a cab, and we were going to go riding around as well. And the next day I wanted to do something of an adventure. So I found something at the hotel. They had recommended these Blackwater Adventures, which was a boat ride. But going there and seeing where everything was also a long commute. So as you can see, again, Guyana, and I tend in South American countries, they have a lot of colorful houses, which is beautiful to look at. As you can see,
Came from Lelienberg,
Yeah.
and then it went
You gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go.
there was a big massacre.
So I went with my daughter and with my sister who normally doesn't.
so I just wanted to show you that was the start of our Blackwater tour. I did have our tour guide voiceover and mine and my mom's. And this was his dog, and she was so cute. She was very friendly. And we were just heading around. And again, this was about a 3-hour boat ride. Like right now, that blue ship in front of us, they had a bunch of sugar. And because Guyana's biggest export is sugar, and you could actually smell the sugar when they were pouring it in. And this is where we're going. It's called Blackwater, but as you can see, it's kind of brown. And the reason why it's that color is because of the roots that are inside, like all those trees. Those roots are very deep, and it produces the color. This ride was very bumpy. This is also sped up. But it was a nice day. It was a hot day. I forgot to put some sunscreen on, and I got slightly burnt on my legs, but it was definitely worth it. And again, where we were going was to see where all the colonies and the Dutch and everything, all the other European countries had taken over Guyana centuries ago, but just to see the route at which they had to do. And we were in a motorized boat with... Just left that clip on so that you can hear how windy it was and the water. And then this little calm area. The tour guide was really great. He was driving, obviously he was driving, but he was looking out for animals for us to see. So you could see some monkeys, some sloths, some amazing, beautiful birds. We couldn't see everything, but he was definitely keeping an eye out while driving very safely with all 4 of us in the small boat, as you can see. This was supposed to be a tunnel where we can go through. Fortunately, it was closed, so we were able to go around it, which made our trip a little bit longer, but it was just good to see. So again, the dog was there to keep us company, but just seeing everything. And of course, it was a beautiful day. It did end up raining. As you can see, the clouds are kind of dark. But again, I love to be outside, so I just was enjoying a lot of this view as we were going on the boat ride. He was telling us history, and it was interesting, but I was just so mesmerized about how lucky I was to be able to be here and being outside, having this beautiful view. And again, just to think about it, this is a 3-hour drive on a motorized boat. And back then, when they were settling, they took days. And a lot of people built their homes around the river, obviously for food, for transportation, for safety. And that's really what we experienced as well. This was heading back, and you can see it's a beautiful sunset. Took us 3 hours. We got there pretty late, so I couldn't film that. And it was very bumpy at the end, as you are seeing slightly. Audio. We were driving around the next day, and then we tried this fireside grill that we saw on obviously a YouTube channel for Guyana, so we tried it out. It was pretty good seafood. And then my mom was also there for her high school reunion, and that's where we went to, was the Lime Fest, and it was great. We had some good jazz music, and we also had some good food. And then this is just one of our last couple of days where we were just driving around. Again, our driver was just showing us areas that we hadn't seen. Guyana's massive, but we were able to see, as you can see, there was just a horse carrying a ride along cars, which for me is still something out of the ordinary. We don't see horses in New York, or at least Astoria where I live, but this was really cool just to see. And then we stopped by a Guyanese Chinese restaurant because obviously in Guyana, there's a huge Chinese population, so they have really good food. I wanted to try it out. We went at lunch, so that's why this restaurant was pretty empty, which was fine by me because I was just to eat some food and then head out again. And then again, like as you could tell, this is us just driving around, and you see these river and water areas, and it's so close. People are driving carefully, but there's no real destination of like when the road ends and begins. So I'm glad that we got lucky with 2 drivers that were very safe drivers, made us feel comfortable, didn't go too fast, didn't go too slow, but was showing us around while we were seeing it. So this was typical traffic in Guyana after lunch, and as you could see, people just doing their own thing. They have these massive houses and apartment buildings like most countries are having. But as you've seen already many times, there are also smaller houses where people and families have lived there for many generations. And this is where we were going. We were going to go see around the seawall where my mom used to walk as a kid. And this was kind of the beginning of it. It had rained a little bit the day before, but you could see the water kind of just sits there. A lot of green areas. And we were just preparing to go there. It was a nice day. We were hoping, as you could see from the sky, it was not going to rain. But in Guyana, you never know. So we always had an umbrella in the car with us just to make sure. And we were approaching. And this was a typical evening around 4 o'clock. All the food stands, as you can see, are starting to come up. And this is part of everyday life in Guyana. People go after work around 5:30. And they bring their kids and their families and their spouses, and they walk around the seawall, my apologies. I wasn't going to eat anything there, but it was good to know that there were some food stands. And they just had like local snacks and some drinks. Hotel that you see was one of the famous hotels that my mom had remembered when she was a kid. As you can see, this is the seawall, and this was typically what she did. That cemented area is a newer area, so she had told me it was really there. It was just kind of like just sand and dirt. And people do this every single day, and it's a very long walk, and it's very typical for people just to have an early dinner outside, have a snack. Obviously, as the world has changed, there's some garbage in the ocean, as you can see, but you can see very far those little black dots in the background are boats. And it was just interesting to see how, like, even though it's been so long, my mom remembers like going here with her siblings and her mom, and they would do a nice walk once in a while just to be outside, especially since this weather is similar all year long. Again, I was kind of surprised with the garbage there, but nowadays you see garbage everywhere. So this is kind of a view of the food trucks getting ready, and also just the beautiful view of walking all the way down. We didn't walk all the way down. We just walked about, I would say, a fourth of it, which was about a 20-minute walk. The natural sounds of other people talking around us, but also the view. Again, we started to walk back as the sunset was coming down, because this was one of our last days in Guyana, and we wanted to make sure we got enough rest for the next day. The next morning, my mom's cousin's husband took us to this bakery, which unfortunately we weren't able to get, but I'm a big pastry fiend, and I just want to show you what pastries I was going to get. I was going to get every single one on this truck, but we got there late, and they were all sold out of everything I wanted. And this was our last breakfast, and I want you to know that's how it goes in Guyana. I just want to thank you for sticking with me. I was speaking really fast, and again, I just wanted you to see the natural beauty of Guyana. I didn't want to explain like, oh, this was the governor's house, or this was the Bank of Guyana, or this was where the capital. We were in Georgetown. We were there for almost a week. We were there for my mom's reunion, but also for me just to see this country that my mom was born in. And it was a very interesting experience to know that the culture is pretty much similar. They're always hustling, busing, working, very outgoing people, but they know what they want to do and they get it done. So thank you so much for joining. Please continue to take care of yourself. I'm going to be adding some funny fitness videos with some food. If you have any ideas, if you want to see something, or you want me to educate you on my background, please let me know. Leave a comment. Always be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I'll see you next time.